yes as well. And now requisitions, everybody okay with that?
I am.
Yes.
Yes for that, for me too. And are there any add-ons?
I do have one add-on. I have a resolution designating Warren County as a green light for Veterans County and declaring November 4th through 11th, 2025 as a time to salute and honor the service and sacrifices of those transitioning from active service. So what this is, NACO is honoring veterans by celebrating the 5th anniversary of the Operation Greenlight. It shows supports by the veterans for lighting up buildings green from November 4th through the 11th.
Yeah, it's one of the programs that NACO is doing to recognize veterans, and I thought it would be something that we would want to participate in, which is why it's before the board.
Okay, so what do we, it's a resolution or what is it?
Yes.
It's a resolution allowing us to participate in the
Okay.
program.
And we've talked to facilities and they'll
You know,
provide the
it's,
different,
lighting us up green
Yeah,
does
lighting
not
us up.
cost a lot of green.
does not cost a lot of green. I think they just put some filters on the lights that are already there. So,
Okay, that's good. Do you want to make a
So
motion?
moved.
and yes.
And yes for that too. Okay, thank you so much. Is that it?
That's all I have.
All right. Well, now we have a public hearing to consider text amendments to the Warren County Rural Zoning Code. And I'm supposing that
Mr. Draft.
we're going to have a presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, Ray Dratt with the Warren County Building and Zoning. I'm here times two this morning. We'll start off with the proposed zoning text amendments. We had a the first thing we'll be talking about, here's the amendments which we have spoken before about, drafted by planning and zoning, reviewed by the prosecutor's office, and recommended by Turtle Creek Township, the RPC Executive Committee, and the Rural Zoning Commission. Here's kind of the way it went. Time-wise, we met with you on the 19th of August for a work session. They were initiated. The RPC Executive Committee met on the 28th of August and recommended approval. The RZC then met September 3rd, recommended approval, and we are here today for your ultimate decision. Summary of the proposed amendments. Update the public notification process to include online notification. Illustrate lot frontage on dead-end street. Clarify what constitutes a stacked panhandle lot. Exempt secondary dwelling unit from accessory building count. Add a diagram to lot width definition. And amend subdivision perimeter buffer requirements. So the public notification, nothing has changed, as we previously discussed. For all those listed, we will modify the public notification to include the ability to publish it on our website instead of through paper.
Okay, so that's an instead of through the paper?
Well, currently, we spend a lot of money on advertising, and the fact that we won't have to do that after the 30-day period, it will simply be, we post it on our website, the county website, and that way we don't have to publish it in the newspaper.
Okay, I mean, so we're not gonna publish at all. The only way in which we're gonna notify people is by a website notification?
Well, there will be notification if it's in the affected area, so there'll still be a certified mail requirement to notify people of a public hearing, so everybody within the 500 feet will get a notice. But in instances like this, for text amendments, where there's really no general audience, it will only be published in social media as well as on our Facebook page and other means.
Okay,
And
thank
just
you.
confirming, the Ohio Revised Code doesn't require us to publish it in the newspaper.
You are correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to the illustrated lot frontage of dead-end street. Number 6 is the only thing we added. This kind of helps out landowners who don't have frontage up against the improved surface. This has not changed since we spoke about it last, but it says the terminus of a dead-end roadway constitute frontage if the property lot line is within 50 feet of the paved surface of a public road, street, and then we provided them with an illustration to reference in the zoning code.
And you're doing that because we keep having this issue come up over and over.
That is correct. There's probably been 4 or 5 of them since I've been here. Bishop, up on the top of the hill in the South Lebanon, Morrow area, is an example where there was a parcel on the east side of that didn't have the road frontage. The pavement ended, grass, and then a gate. Well, so this will now eliminate the question that if you have frontage that terminates, which is the pavement, and you have a lot on the, within 50 feet, then that will constitute frontage for zoning purposes. So it makes it a buildable lot.
Because then, what was it? The anticipation was that it worked out like this because they thought maybe the street was gonna extend beyond that point?
Right, at some point, just the future is
But
unknown.
now we're saying that if somebody builds there, the street's obviously not gonna go there, and you're obviously on a street, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, this makes sense.
So here we're trying to clarify what constitutes a stacked panhandle.
Can I ask one more question about this?
Yes.
Because that was a big deal back in the day where we would have people extend a street that was dead end and then it potentially connected into another subdivision. That's why a lot of times we would have that for ease, access, a secondary access and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're saying you live at the end of that dead end, or you own the property at the end of that dead end. Isn't that potentially where the developer or someone was gonna put the road to connect into another subdivision? And now we're saying it's okay to go ahead and throw that plan out the window, go ahead and build a lot there?
I don't think it applies to stub streets. It only applies to existing dead-end roads. Like Bishop Drive has been there since the,
So, okay, so it's not a step, Bruce, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're talking about the old parcel A, parcel B, where it ended. Somebody's gotta make that improvement, and on this case, how we've handled some of these is, we've had the owner of the parcel who wants to build a house on it, extend that, typically in the right of way, so they can do that. The county engineer can give them a permit, the county engineer supports that. You're talking about a stub, where they stub, but they didn't go all the way to the property line. Somebody would still have to improve that, and for the adjoining property to be able to access it, they would have to improve it.
Okay, so this shouldn't be some big unintended consequence of our road network is gonna suffer. This is literally a road that just terminates. and
Yeah,
there's no
that's
plan.
why we're doing this, that's correct.
All right.
thank you, sir. So back to stacked panhandle, nothing has changed except for we now have drawn multiple pictures so that somebody who is simply reviewing the zoning code can relate, okay, well, my lot is a stacked panhandle, and there's multiple diagrams so that you can determine which one you fall in. So that just benefits the public.
But so that the rule remains the same.
The rules remain the same. You cannot have a stacked panhandle, but in the past, they've created these wandering handles of the pan, and then they want to know why they get denied. It's because no portion, either the handle or the pan, can be stacked behind a single frontage. So with the illustrations that we have now
So
provided,
it's just a clarification
It
of
is.
the rule,
that's correct.
okay?
The secondary dwelling units, this is once again another thing that is gonna benefit the landowners. Number 7, the detached secondary dwelling unit shall not be included in the maximum number of detached accessory buildings referenced in the chart. So we've clarified that, that if you're gonna have a secondary dwelling, it doesn't go against the count that you're permitted for an accessory structure on your property.
So you can have, say, a home and then a kind of another place that somebody can live in, like your parents or something like that, and that's okay.
It's a secondary dwelling, but the clarification in this one was the fact that if you have less than 5 acres, you can only have 3 accessory structures, over 200 and 1 under. Well, the question is a secondary dwelling unit count as one of your accessory structures? Now, the clarification in the zoning code says it doesn't count against you.
Okay,
So you can
good.
still have accessory
You
structures.
could have a barn, you could have a
Exactly.
A
garage.
shed or tool place.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Another clarification here for the diagram for lot width definition, specifically to developers and builders, the common question is, when you submit the plans, here's a diagram, it says adding a diagram that illustrates how lot width is measured for a lot on a cul-de-sac or curved street right-of-way. Simply a diagram for clarification. Here's the amended subdivision perimeter buffer requirements. We talked about this last time. Nothing has been changed from our last conversation, but to clarify, these now apply to all residential zoning districts, applies to all public roadways, and in a nutshell, the buffer options, so buffers greater than 100 feet, you're gonna have less trees. Buffers less than or equal to 100 feet will need more trees. And then the berm option would equal less trees. So more buffering, it will reflect in the new changes. Here is something that you have not seen. This was brought to us by Turtle Creek Township after our work session. But these are, again, amendments to the subdivision perimeter buffer requirements introduced by Turtle Creek Township, and it addresses buffer and landscaping installation requirements. So basically, we break it down into residential uses, and required buffer and landscaping improvements shall be made at the beginning of the first succeeding planting session following the final plan approval for 70% of the lots within the development or the applicable phase of the development. For non-residential uses, once again, we're back on the planning, the timing. During planting season, required buffer and landscaping improvements shall be installed at the beginning of the first succeeding planting season following the issuance of the certificate of occupancy for the development or an applicable phase of that development. It continues by talking about the during planting season and now off planting season. So if it's in the middle of winter, here's the application for that. If an approved development is completed during the off season when plants cannot be installed, the required buffer and landscaping improvement shall be installed at the beginning of the first succeeding planting season following the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy for the development or applicable phase of that development, excuse me. We've also defined the planting season. The optimal periods when planting trees, shrubs, or other vegetation is most conducive to their survival and the successful plant growth and root development based on the factors like frost dates, temperature, soil, and sunlight. Planting season is determined with guidance provided by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Ohio State University Extension, and the Ohio American Hort, formerly the American Association of Nurserymen. Additional continuing the landscaping diversity. Basically, they would like us to amend and introduce a wider diversity of plants. Requiring landscaping shall include a greater diversity of plants, species to ensure long-term sustainability and reduce the risk of widespread loss due to disease or infestation. So based on Turtle Creek Township's recommendation, this is what the zoning code will now look like if you guys approve of it. It will have in the 3.407 other requirements, it'll add section E and it will simply address installation timing. It'll address what we previously spoke about. There's residential, there's non-residential, during the planting season, off planting season. We added in section 4, the actual definition of a planting season. And here is 3.404 when it talks about species diversity. Now, this is currently in the code, but we've added to it. So where it's struck out in black, in red is the new. So when there's fewer than 30 trees are required on the site, at least 3 different species shall be utilized. When 30 or more trees are required, we then jumped it up to 4 different species shall be utilized. And then required shrubs shall utilize the same species diversity requirements of section A and B as listed above.
I mean, does that apply to individual residents or just the HOA or when the developer is putting in something?
It's strictly the subdivisions, rural subdivisions. We won't, if this is not for your home, basically, this is for developments. And,
Well, but a rural home is in a development.
what's that?
A rural home, all these homes would be in a development. Does it apply to just what the developer is doing, like in an entranceway or along the streets? Or this apply to all the pieces of property and the plots of land in the development?
No, just the streets that, the public, access to public streets along a development.
I still don't understand. Is this something that applies then just to the developer's property, which will become the HOA's property if they've got an HOA?
Yes.
And that's explained in here?
It basically covers the topic, buffer and landscaping requirements in the subdivision perimeter buffer requirements section of the zoning code.
So we already have those.
We do.
Yeah, when you,
They're already there, yes.
right, when you do a development, you know, you're doing mounding or trees or the way that your entrance looks, those, we already require things on that.
We do.
It's just now it's defining when that has to be put in.
Correct. I mean,
But it says landscaping, and that makes sense to me when you use the word buffer. But if you say landscaping installation, is it the landscaping installation in the buffer?
yes.
Should that be clarified, Bruce?
Because this is under buffer requirements, so
It
I would
is.
think it would be.
Well, it says buffer and landscaping
That's a
installation.
section of the zoning
Oh,
code.
is it in the buffer requirement? That's the whole, in the
Yes.
subcategory of that. Okay, well, then
That's
I'm
correct.
okay with that.
Yes.
Yeah, we just don't want the developer, because he's ready to finish this development, plant the trees because he has to on July the 4th. Nobody waters them and they just die.
Yeah.
And they met his requirements and he can move on. And that's what this all is intended, and Turtle Creek's here, they can speak to some examples of problems that they've had because of this.
Well, it's fine, you've explained it, it relates just to them and their buffer, and obviously it wouldn't make sense for an individual lot, because they're not gonna have 30 or more trees.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, that concludes my PowerPoint presentation on the zoning codes, text amendments.
Okay, since this was a public hearing, let me invite somebody else from the public to speak. Does anybody else in the public have anything to say about this matter? Nope, seeing none. I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
Yes.
And yes, and now any discussion among the board?
No, it was a good presentation.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt? Do we have to have a motion to adopt?
So I have a resolution approving text amendments to the Warren County Rural Zoning Code.
So moved?
Yes.
Can you call the roll on that?
Mr. Grossman?
Yes?
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
helpful.
you.
Okay, next, we have a public hearing to consider rezoning application of Patrick Hudipole to rezone approximately 6.76 acres from single-family residential to R1B to single-family residential R1B PUD, a PUD.
Yes, sir.
Are you handling that too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It was because I'm reading this and I'm looking up and you're still here.
All right, well, thank you once again. As indicated, we're here today. The PowerPoint will be labeled as Exhibit 1. Case number is 2025-02. The applicant owner is Marion Patrick Hodepool. They run a business called 360 Restoration LLC. They handle water damage, fire damage, mold, storm damage, and basic restoration to your home or residence. The township is within Turtle Creek Township. The property location is 934 East Turtle Creek Union Road, Lebanon, Ohio 45036. It has a parcel identification number of 1334400018. It has a property size, the whole property is 48.859 acres. The proposed area for the PUD is an overlay of 6.76 acres, and it has approximately 224 feet of frontage on Turtle Creek Union Road. The future land map shows a single-family residential. The existing land use is currently vacant. The zoning requested is R1 PUD, single-family residential with planned unit development. An issue for consideration is to rezone a portion of the property from R1B, single-family residential zone, to an R1B PUD, single-family residential with PUD development. The rezoning process, we started with the RPC Executive Committee on September 25th, 2025. We then went to the Warren County Rural Zoning Commission on September 30th, and we are here today on November 4th for your ultimate decision. Here is an aerial of the property outlined in blue off the west end of Turtle Creek Union Road. Here's an indication of where the actual PUD overlay will be within the boundaries of the entire parcel. Here is the notification map of 500 feet of the surrounding property owners. Here's the zoning and flood map, really no flood issues, and you can see that R1B is to the west, R1A to the east, and then some mixed-use neighborhood to the south.
And is there a residence on this?
No, ma'am, it's all
Okay.
vacant land.
Okay.
Here's the future land use, shows it as single-family residential. Here is the revised site plan. There's quite a bit going on, but you can see the overlay area in the broken line and still within the entire proximity of the 45 plus acres. Here's another revised site plan, so a little closer up of what they're proposing. And here's where we dissected it a little bit further to try to help you guys get a better understanding of what's going on. So you can see in blue that the maximum building size combined is 20,000 square feet. This is a cumulative permitted square foot or footage for all building, principal and accessory structures. So he initially is going to build a 10,000 square foot structure. He has potential to do an additional 10,000 square foot. But once he meets that 20,000 square feet, he won't be able to put an accessory structure anywhere within that PUD overlay. So he'll be maxed out once he does the 20,000 square foot.
Is this just for one residence?
This is, this area here is for the business, sir. This is the PUD overlay just for the business,
Okay.
but the remaining acreage is for a single-family residence.
So it's just, there's 45, 46 acres, they're taking 6 or 7 acres and saying, instead of changing that to a business zone, they're saying, here's a residential PUD.
Yes, sir.
And that means it's negotiated, and they're saying, we want to put up one commercial building.
Well, potentially two. not to exceed 20,000 square feet. Originally and initially, he'll build one 10,000 square foot structure.
But it's controlled by county zoning.
Yes.
Under the PUD standards. So if he attempted and was successful to rezone it as business, we wouldn't be able to put, all these conditions on it. In this way, what Ray's talking about is limiting it to just this because it's a PUD within that residential zone.
And normally people just rezone it, correct?
Well, it's unlikely it's gonna be rezoned to business, cause it's got, he showed the map with all the residential
Right, we
around it, so.
spot
you almost-
zoning
Yeah,
or other.
in one spot, put a business out in a residential
But
zone.
that's kind of what they're doing.
Well, that's what residential PUDs attempt to do, that's correct.
Okay, so can you show me where the other residences are around this property again?
Absolutely. So we're gonna go back to the overlay.
Okay,
So
right there.
there is there's a residential property, residence down here. There's obviously one right in front here, and then all these along, there's residence. But this is the area in question. This is, I think, Mr. Young's church owns this property up here. This is all
What church is that?
vacant.
What church?
It's the one on Stubbs that they bought this parcel to do like a oasis for growing trees and vegetables and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that.
My church?
I thought it was when we first presented it, or they came in and met. with
Okay,
us.
well, let me ask you this.
Oh, is that Grace Chapel?
Yes.
Oh, in Mason, okay.
Okay, so now, I was an elder at that church too. I'm no longer at the church, but so all of the homes, I guess, were given notice of this public hearing, right?
Correct.
And how was that done?
We advertised it in the paper. We also mailed out notifications. And I don't know if Crystal's had any visitors, but I had at least one, and it was this young lady here who owns the property. She came in, I provided her with an overlay of what they were proposing, and I don't see her in the audience today, so.
Did she object to it?
She did not.
Okay, she just
I
had
think she was
questions.
concerned about, the buffer and, what, because oftentimes when we send notifications, a simple phone call or meeting in person to clarify, well, what is going on?
No, and they're putting this, so the frontage, what road is that it fronts
Turtle
on?
Creek Union, sir?
Okay, and
Showing 48,
So
Give him an
48
idea.
would be over this way, 48's here.
up by the old Walmart
Yep.
Okay.
And then
area where you get off.
71 is right here. This is the dead end of Turtle Creek, so this is, Stubbs.
yeah, I know where Stubbs is. So now, what, did they tell you what commercial, kind of interest they're putting in there?
They are doing a restoration 360. It's where they, after you experience the storm damage, his company,
I'm all too familiar with. the
his
restoration
company
company.
is the people that come in and will,
So
tear
it's
up
for
the
storage
carpet.
in their office and things like that, they're not a manufacturing facility?
No, it's just strictly a facility where he can run his business out of. He'll store his fans. And he can.
Drywall,
Well, they're really gonna be limited, it's gonna be more like his equipment, his workers, and there will be, inside one of the structures, temporary storage of your
materials.
materials. If they have to remove stuff, like your couch, your furniture, they'll take it there and store it temporarily while they go through your
Okay, so
process.
this is not a retail establishment that's gonna attract a lot of traffic. It's just
No.
gonna be his employees and storing for his
Correct.
work that he does to help people who get flooded out, like some other people we know.
Absolutely.
And, okay, thank you. Anything else?
So, moving on, here's the driveway. The driveway, parking areas and driveway aisles contained in the PUD will be improved surface with asphalt or concrete as shown as the shaded area, Exhibit B. That's the purple area, so You can see he'll come in off of Turtle Creek Union Road, continue straight off to the east for the business, and then to the west for the residential future home. Huge concern with buffers. In green is the required buffer. In yellow, buffers and landscaping, there shall be a minimum of buffer distance of 50 feet between all residential property lines. Use and zoning district, buffer type D, landscaping and screening requirements are required along the eastern property line per section 3.405 of the Warren County Rural Zoning Code. Landscaping within the buffer shall be able to mature to a minimum height of 10 feet. That's buffer type D. The required buffer will include the following: existing trees, shrubs, and some 6-foot tall green giant evergreens. Space 16 feet on center where contractor traffic headlights might impact the adjacent properties. Blue spruce trees will not be permitted. That was a requirement of Turtle Creek Township, as they are not a very hardy species.
So, let me understand the 6-foot tall green giant trees.
Yes.
Is that's a miniature green giant tree, or is that just when you plant it at 6 feet?
At
'Cause
6
a
feet at
green
planting.
giant can go way up there.
Right, 6 feet at planting.
Okay.
And then the status with the buffer type D is when it matures, it maintains a minimum of 10 feet in height.
Okay, all right, now that's understandable.
So here is RPC's recommendation. There is quite a few of them. And once again, this was back in September, and there have been many revisions to this. The standards are still the same. We've met multiple times with the applicant, and these conditions have almost all been met. And you'll see that number 11, prior to PUD Stage 1 review, the Warren County Commissioners, or presenting to the Commissioners, the applicant shall submit an updated site plan, which is what we just saw, and he has met A through H on that site plan submittal. Here is the letter that we received from Turtle Creek Township. The method in which we had meetings with the applicant, the first thing that we typically do after we sit down with them at RPC is we encourage the applicant to meet with the township that they are trying to perform these tasks in. This was in Turtle Creek Township, so Mr. Holdepool has engaged multiple times with Turtle Creek Township, and here is the letter, bless you, that we received from them. And I'll let them speak on it, but basically from the first meeting to the submittal, there were some issues. Section 6.4, no more than 15 parking spaces. The applicant said 12 was sufficient, trustees increased it to 15. In his initial request, it was 21 spaces. 6.6, hours of operation. The agreement was 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. He came back and said 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. 8.1, ample substantial mounding. They requested 4-foot mounding. He came back with 2. 8.1 continued. Original application indicated 6-foot trees. Applicant does not indicate height on trees. So what you see here is a list that Turtle Creek Township evaluated based on their initial meeting and what he originally, meaning applicants originally submitted. After all our meetings, here's where we ended up. So he modified every single one of his PUD standards to accommodate the wishes of Turtle Creek Township. 6.8, the hours of operation, we are now looking at 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. Emergency hours are 24 hours. Obviously, you can't determine when nature will strike, so if there's a need for after-hours intervention, he will be permitted to do that. However, the normal office hours will be 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. In additional, section 9, no semi-trucks as part of deliveries or services. Now, 9.2, storage at the site shall be for business use only. Outdoor storage is prohibited. Now, mind you that it is permissible to have a dumpster, okay? But dumpster needs to have screening requirements, so that would not be considered outdoor storage. No hazardous material or debris shall be stored. Hazardous material as defined by the EPA or other regulatory guidelines. 9.4, chain link fence is prohibited. 9.5, parking lot lighting is prohibited, so there's no lighting and no chain link. Ultimately, here is the latest and greatest PUD standard. So everything in here is from him, and this is what he will abide by and we will enforce. And that is that the address, the parcel size, 6.7 acres. He is the applicant. The purpose, intent of the Hotapool R1 PUD is to establish standards governing a restoration service contractor business development located at 6.76 acres in Turtle Creek Township. PUD boundaries describes the boundaries, the definitions and terms. Consistency with the rural zoning code, the site plan, clearing and grading, use regulations. There are and is the only permitted use within this PUD. Restoration service contractor shall be permitted as a principal land use within the PUD. This use shall be reviewed as a permitted use with use-specific standards, utilizing commercial business and service use specific standards. Prohibited uses, there they are, principal and accessory land uses not listed in section 5.1 above are prohibited within the PUD. He continues for his developmental standards. There he shows the maximum structures, 20,000 square feet. Can't go over 20,000 square feet. He can have 2 buildings, but he can't go over the 20,000. Maximum building height of 30 feet. Impervious surface ratio, 0.55. Maximum roof pitch, 4 to 12. Parking, once again, 15 parking spaces for the first phase of the 10,000 square foot structure. If he does decide to build another 10,000 square foot structure, he can add 5 additional parking spaces. The driveway, 6.6 was a huge area of focus. The driveway, parking areas, and drive aisles contained within this PUD will be improved surface with asphalt or concrete as shown in the shaded area of Exhibit B. I showed you that earlier. There's parking setbacks, hours of operations, there it is in black and white, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, emergency operation 24 hours. The setbacks are pre-standard, 50 front, 20-50 side, and then 30 feet for the rear. Now remember, the side, minimum of 20 for a total of 50. Access standards, ingress and egress from the PUD shall be limited to Turtle Creek Union Road. Site standards, buffers and landscape. There's where we talk about he's going to utilize existing trees, the shrubs, and then he's going to add 6 foot tall green giant evergreens spaced at 16 feet on center as we showed in the site plan. Landscaping plans, signage, unless specified below, signage shall conform to the regulations of the Warren County Rural Zoning Code in effect at the time of zoning permit application. The dumpster, 8.4 was an add-on, but once again, dumpster screening shall comply with the requirements of the section 3.405 of the Rural Zoning Code. And in his PUD standards, he has now addressed the concerns of Turtle Creek Township by indicating what we previously spoke. No semis, storage at site shall be for business use only, outdoor storage is prohibited, no hazardous materials as defined, chain link is prohibited, parking lot lighting is prohibited. Here again is the letter from Turtle Creek Township, and it focuses on the table that they felt needed to be addressed. Mr. Hodapool has addressed those issues. Here's a letter from Warren County Soil and Water with no comments, as well as a letter from the Health Department where they have no issues with the rezoning of this property. And that concludes my presentation of this proposed PUD. Are there any questions of me?
So if we don't make this change, of course, the commercial thing won't be permitted, correct?
Correct.
And if it stays the existing zoning, the only thing that can be put there are residential structures, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, so the change we're making is to permit a commercial structure there,
Correct.
like you described with the limitations you described.
Yes, sir.
And then, the township has approved the plan with the conditions as modified.
The township is here today to speak to you on that, but we had a quick conversation yesterday, and I believe they don't have any questions, but I can't speak for them.
Okay, well, so maybe they do object.
Correct. The other thing I would like to say is that you asked the question, so currently, this is vacant property. So one could ask what about a home occupation? Okay, wouldn't qualify for a class 1, but it may fall under a class 2. Probably not likely, but the thing that you have to remember is you have to build the house first. You can't have home occupation without a residence, so.
So the person could, are you saying that in their current zoning, they could build a residence there, and I take it then, they could also build a home business there with a separate structure of a certain type, including this type?
Yes,
Okay, but they would not be partitioned, they would be the same property, the same parcel.
correct.
Okay, so they could do it if they put a residence there first,
Correct.
regardless of the getting this change, and then there would be no PUD.
Correct.
Well, this is important.
Yes, sir.
If there's no PUD, then there's no ability for us to control the buffering and all that.
It's minimal, yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
all
It
right,
wouldn't come before you, for sure,
Correct.
it'd go before the BZA.
BZA.
okay, all right. Thank
That
you.
happens all the time with large lots with like landscapers.
Yeah, which is why I asked if there was a residence on the property.
Right, oh, well, you're very prescient.
I am, I really am, Tom, and it's about time you noticed that.
I know, okay. Well, I'm glad you got my back.
Yeah,
Thank you.
always.
All right, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any, well, first off, it's a public hearing, and we're gonna allow other people to speak. Is the applicant here?
He is, yes, sir.
Do the applicant wanna speak or say anything, or is this presentation okay with you?
Morning, Pat Hudepool. I own 360 Restoration. Want to say thank you for your consideration and Ray and RPZ's help so far, because it's definitely brand new to me. This started off as a very small venture, but we've been committed throughout. And although a home occupation would be a lot cheaper for us, we want to do it the right way, and we want to have that separation as well. I do have, so the surrounding neighbors, I do have 3 letters of support from them, including Grace Baptist. I do not have the young lady that I believe Ray spoke to. She was not home. I couldn't track her down. Everybody around us is just happy there's not a big development coming in. So the buffering, I completely understand that. My wife owns a business here in Lebanon. I'm looking forward to us moving here. Obviously, having the house as well as the business would be very nice.
Are you planning on putting a house on the property?
Yes, absolutely.
you?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay.
On the separate parcel, so once we get hypothetically
And
rezoned, I
when did you buy this property?
believe it's 2 years ago?
And so you bought it with the current zoning where you couldn't do this
Correct.
unless you put a house first and then you did a home business?
Correct. Yeah, and in the home occupation, and I could be incorrect, but there are some limitations on it. I believe one of them, if I recall, is up to one or two of your employees they have to be your relative. I do have a couple relatives working for me, but I didn't want to flex those rules and pull the wool over anybody's eyes. Again, want to try to do it correctly on that. And then, yeah, so the building basically would be our equipment, consumables, and some vehicles just in the parking lot, so we don't really necessarily stage material at Home Depot. We, get it from Home Depot or Lowe's. And then in reference to the hours, emergencies do happen. I certainly don't want to be working longer than the office hours, but if we do get that call, we try to be there for our customers. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again. I think one big one that will come up is the sign. So the sign, obviously, at a dead-end street, not a lot of people are going to see it, as well as customers or people coming in. We don't have many. We try not to have any customers at the building, really. The one downside, especially nowadays, is Google Maps. If you were to have that flood in the middle of the night, basically you don't have a good restoration contractor in your back pocket, so you're going to go to Google and you're going to look at our reviews, which we have a 5-star review online, but you're also going to look at their street view, and if it's a vacant lot, that is certainly an issue. So at least we want to have a sign there indicating we are there and we're there for them. Beyond that, I think that's all I have.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I was just gonna say, we'll obviously hear from the township who's here, but it certainly seems, at least on its face, that you did a lot of work with the township to come together on that, and I think that that's, I appreciate that collaboration. I certainly know Turtle Creek Township to be collaborative in nature,
Yeah.
so I would be surprised to hear otherwise, so
Absolutely.
perhaps I should put, what is it, the
Cart before the horse.
cart before the horse, or the chickens before the eggs, or something, but I appreciate the approach that you've taken in
Absolutely.
this.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
so I guess now it's a public hearing, so the public can speak. Want to hear from the township?
All right. Good morning, Jen Patterson, Turtle Creek Township. I do want to start off by complimenting the county staff. This project has gone on for a long time. There has been a lot of back and forth on the minutia, and the staff was right with us on making sure nothing got missed or nothing got discussed. Mr. Hudapole, obviously, as his business plans evolved, he brought a lot of different ideas, and we had to have some conversations back and forth. So credit to your staff who did a really nice job of respecting kind of where the township was. I think the trustees were mostly concerned with being good neighbors to the existing neighbors, not dramatically changing the nature of the lots out there. Understanding that people have businesses and they'd like to have them in their area, and how do we balance all of those interests. So with that in mind, I think we substantially got there. There are a few things that, emergency hours were not discussed during the trustee meeting. We do understand, though, that it is typically a call-out situation. We're gonna trust everybody that we're just gonna handle the problem, and then the next day is when the real work starts. I think that makes a ton of sense. The signage was discussed during the trustee meeting. I think you can drop a pin on Google and solve the "where are we" moment, but understanding that what we have here in this PUD is middle ground between the conversation with the trustees, which was leaning more towards no signage, and what was initially proposed once it came to the county, which was wall signage and ground signage and things like that. A ground-mounted, well-maintained sign is not the end of the world in terms of the character of the neighborhood. So I think with that, we feel supportive of the project. We hope that Mr. Hudapole does well. Seems like there's big plans for the house and everything else that'll come to follow, and so we appreciate his support of the township and your support of the township as well for this. And again, credit to the county staff.
All right, so I want to make sure I understand.
Mhm.
So the township is not opposing the project as currently constructed with the current PUD requirements?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody answer the question?
All right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so this is a public hearing, and does anybody else in the public want to speak to this matter? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved?
And yes?
Yes. And now, do we have a resolution to adopt?
Yeah, from my perspective, I appreciate where you're coming from. Number one, that it is somewhat two conflicting goals a little bit, that you have a residential neighborhood and people buy houses and invest in a neighborhood because they think they know what it's gonna look like. But the other side is, especially in Turtle Creek Township, which is so heavily residential, we're bending over backwards trying to get more business activity in there. So now all of a sudden you want to come there and have your business there. So I think this has been a very well thought out compromise of how do you balance, as you said, those two conflicting things of, this isn't it's not a small parcel, you have 45 acres there. So you're an investor, a major investor in Turtle Creek Township, and you just simply want to put your business, which hopefully has very minimal impact to your surrounding neighbors there, and you've worked out a deal to where hopefully everybody plays well in the sandbox together. So I think this is a good thing. So I'll make a motion to approve this PUD change.
Second?
And, yes. Thank you.
Very good. Good luck.
So I was gonna call the roll on that.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And I also was going to, not gonna exclude you from talking, because usually we get a motion and then we have discussion about it, but, so it worked out fine. Thank you. So now, does that conclude our general agenda?
Yes, sir.
All right, so does anybody else in the public want to speak to us before we close this portion of our meeting? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, do we need to open up the second meeting?
Just head back
And
there.
we're gonna have a work session to discuss our budget. Thank you so much. Meeting 58. It's meeting 58.
No jokes this time?